Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review a new movie that I just saw, and that movie is Velma. This is a movie that I thought it looked okay by the trailer. I kind of thought maybe it would be predictable. So that was the one big thing keeping me from seeing it. You know, there's a lot of movies that come out nowadays, and they just seem like they're so simple that, you know, you can just predict everything about them, and you know exactly what they are, and, you know, you judge a book by its cover. and there are a lot of movies like that, you know. But this movie, surprisingly, was another huge surprise. I really enjoyed this movie a lot from beginning to end, and so I'm excited to review this movie. It's all about this old woman named Thelma. She's a grandma, and she has somewhat of a close relationship with her grandson, Danny. And he's kind of like a screw-up. He's, you know what he kind of reminds me of? You guys know that guy with the hair that nobody likes anymore? You know the guy from Deadpool, TJ Miller or whatever, you know, the guy that like did some bad shit or whatever. Like, that's what he reminds me of, like that guy. But he's more likable because he didn't do the stuff that guy did, you know? So anyways, yeah. And so what happens is she gets scammed on the phone, which is a very common thing, you know. I used to be really big into watching those guys who would prank call the scam callers on YouTube. You know, there were these two guys, I think like Trilogy Media or something, and then there was the one chubby guy with the sunglasses or whatever, and I used to watch those videos all the time in like 2021, 2020 kinda, you know, like I went through like a phase, and it was just really, really surprising how many scam callers and scam stuff like that actually happens, and how it's actually like this whole underground business. And you know, I was really surprised by that, and so I thought it was really cool with this movie. This movie did a lot of unique and interesting things. You know, they used technology with hearing aids in a really cool way. They did a lot of really interesting things that I appreciated that, you know, I really don't see other movies doing. I mean, this was also a very original movie. So for the people who complain about, like, oh, we get sequels and remakes. Oh, we get sequels and remakes. Well, why don't you go see and support this movie instead of complaining? You know, like, this is a really good movie, and instead of complaining, go see the original movie that you wanted to have come out. You know, because this movie, it has some wild turns. At points in the movie, there are things that happen where I was like, oh, I knew that was going to happen, but then they would turn things on their heads, or they would turn something on its head, and it would be really like, wow, that's really cool that they did that, instead of going the traditional, predictable way, you know. And I really liked all the actors. I liked the main woman the best, the Velma, and then her friend. She has this friend who I can't remember his name. Was it Peter or Ben? I can't remember, and that's really bad. But like, for some reason, I can't remember. But she joins him for the whole movie. He's like her sidekick, and they're going on this adventure together across town, and they have really great chemistry with each other. And yeah, that was my favorite part of the movie, was just watching these two people go on an adventure. And you know, another thing that I really liked, there was some discussion about death. There was some discussion about, like, I think one of my favorite jokes of the movie was when Velma was calling her friends to come pick her up, and it was like, oh, that woman had a heart attack. Oh, that woman had a stroke. Oh, that guy moved to that city across the across the country. Like, like every single friend had something terrible happen or they're dead or whatever. And like there was a little conversation about that, but that wasn't what the movie was about. And whenever you have a movie with older people in the movie as the stars, that's all that they talk about. That's all that they do. And I'll never forget that Whales of August with Lillian Gish and Betty Davis. Like, oh God, that movie was such a downer, such a depressing downer of a movie, and that's all that they can talk about. Like, oh, because we're older and we're going to die soon, that's all we're going to talk about. Like, no, that's not what this movie does. This movie has a lot of fun, and the characters, they do the best with what they have. And, there's a lot of good messaging in the movie, too, in terms of, like, do your best with your limitations and you will go far, is kind of like the main message of the movie, I think. Because all the characters in the movie have their limitations, and all of them have to find ways to work around them. Like, even the main villain of the movie, they have their own limitations, and they're trying to find a way to work around it, and it's just a negative way that they're doing it. And so I thought that this movie was just fantastic. Like, I wish that I saw this movie in theater instead of seeing Hitman, because I just could have seen Hitman at home. But, like, yeah, I would definitely say this is the best movie of the year so far. I know that that's probably a little premature, since I haven't sat with it. I literally just saw it, and so I know that the time is it's still pretty fresh, but it stuck the landing. It really stuck the landing. The last 20 minutes of the movie was really, really good, and I was like, wow, I didn't expect that person to be in the movie. I'm not going to spoil who it is. You can see on IMDb who it is, but I was really, really happy to see that person in the movie. That was like totally out of nowhere. I had no idea, because I just saw the one trailer. I saw that one trailer in the theater, and I thought, this movie looks really predictable, and it looks like a movie you get at Redbox. But no, it's actually really good. So I don't know what else I can say without really spoiling it. I would also say that this movie is like a good comfort movie. I really hated the movie Peanut Butter Falcon, and you guys can watch my review if you want to see why, if you want to hear why. That movie was like this movie, but like the bad version of this movie. That movie is everything that I thought that this movie was going to be. And so, but I would say if you like the excuse me, if you like the Peanut Butter Falcon, you would really like this movie too. So yeah. In terms of food, I would say that this movie is like a home-cooked chicken dinner. It's hearty, it's healthy, it's very comforty. You got the chicken that you roast in the oven with the butter and the garlic, salt, and pepper, and, you just brush the whole chicken with the butter and everything, and it's really delicious, straight out of the oven. Well, no, not straight out of the oven. You fucking burn yourself to death. And there was also a really clever thing they did at the end, and I guess I'm not going to spoil it, but, like, let's just say it's like an action movie type of trope, or something that happens in action movies, and I thought it was really cute and funny what they did with that. And then, of course, with the chicken, you have mashed potatoes and gravy and corn, and no matter how bad you're feeling, probably, if you have chicken dinner, you're going to have a really good time. The only time I ever had a bad chicken dinner, or I can't remember if the chicken dinner was bad or not, but, like, so we used to live in that old house that you guys saw, and the potatoes, we always keep the potatoes on the floor, and I really get grossed out by, like, bugs and worms and stuff, and so we had not been paying attention to the potatoes, and the potatoes were covered in maggots, and that was really, really gross. And there was just something about that just, it always sticks with me, because I was like, we were close to eating those. with our chicken dinner, and we had to go out and get fresh potatoes. So yeah, that's what I would rate this movie. Now let's get the spoilers. So the big thing that I was really not looking forward to was Danny, the grandson. I thought for sure Danny was the bad guy. Like, for sure, like, oh, that's going to be the twist. The whole thing is someone was pretending to be his grandson, but oh, it turns out it is the grandson. He is the bad guy. And because there was this one point in the movie where he was with the parents, and now the parents I thought were the worst part of the movie. You got Parker Posey and Clark Gregg from the Avengers, and the thing that I didn't like about them was that they were very weak characters. They were very, very stale and dull. And they were the most boring, like they were the most underdeveloped and boring characters in the movie. They really had nothing to them. The way they were dressed was very stereotypical. But the actors were good. That was kind of the sad thing, was like that was the one big weak point of the movie. I probably should have mentioned that before I got the spoilers, though, because that's not a spoiler, you know. But the grandson, there's this one part in the movie where he's talking with the parents, and he's like, I'm going to go take a walk. And I thought, uh-oh, this is the part in the movie where the guy that you think is good is going to leave the good character so that he can go take a walk, quote unquote. And then when he goes to take a walk, he's going to call the bad guys and be like, yeah, they're buying everything. You know, I'm really the bad guy. I've always been the bad guy because I'm the shithead screw-up grandson and I'm pissed off, you know, whatever. But he wasn't. He wasn't the bad guy at all. And that totally took me by surprise. The real bad guys, you got Malcolm McDowell. So shocking he was in the movie. He was the owner of this pawn shop. And I guess he had like a grandson or this young guy helping him named Michael. And they were running this little scam operation together so that he could keep the pawn shop open because everyone is buying everything off of Amazon Prime. Which is very true. So yeah, I really loved that. That whole thing at the end. You had this really great part where she's going through the pawn shop as silently as possible, and her friend is guiding her through it. I really like that. And then the whole interaction between them, and the part where she pretends to not know where she is and not know who she's talking to. That was also genius. And I felt like this movie didn't need to have the amount of action that, like, Nobody had. You know, Nobody was also kind of a similar movie to this, where you have this kind of seemingly innocent and weak character, and they end up being, like, this action star of the movie, and they take down the bad guys. Well, like, you didn't need to have all that. You just needed this quiet little finale where, like, she deals with the bad guys and her friend helps her, and then the grandson comes to save the day as well. And I just loved it. I love this movie. I would definitely watch it again. I love the messaging in the movie. I thought it was very comforting and a warm, positive movie. And yeah, it stuck the landing. And this is a big difference between this movie and a lot of the other movies this year, where you get to the ending and they just give up, or you rush it to an end, or the ending is terrible. It doesn't make sense. This movie, it felt like a complete picture. It felt like you had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the ending delivered what it promised it was going to deliver, and everything was resolved. So, that's another positive movie review. I hope you guys are enjoying it, because there was no guarantee I was going to give this movie a positive review unless it was good. You know, the next movie I review, I might be very angry, because you never know nowadays. Like, I've got a list of movies I need to watch. Like, I looked back at all the movies that I've missed reviewing, and I was like, shit. I was like, I gotta get back to work and I gotta review all these bitches. So you guys better be looking forward to that. So please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of Velma. I know that on the surface, it kind of looks like a simple movie, very predictable. And oh yeah, there was another part in the movie, in terms of spoilers, there was another part where Velma has a fall, which was very upsetting and very sad. And I was so weirded out because at first they do kind of like an MCU fake out where she's like, it's like she's not breathing anymore, and then a couple of minutes later it's like, oh no, she's alive. And I thought, there is no way that this movie has the balls, or not necessarily in the good way, but just has the balls to kill off the main character and turn this into some sort of a sad drama affair. I would have ranted and destroyed this movie if they did that, because some movies do that. They pull you into a movie making you think it's something, and then it's something else. Like this movie, it was marketed as a comedy, a light comedy, fun action a little bit, and it would have been so jarring if all of a sudden, with 30 minutes left in the movie, the main character falls and dies. So I was really scared there for a second, and I was glad that they didn't actually do that. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews, because we keep it honest here. We're not like a Collider or the Schmoes or Chris Stuckman. We keep it honest on this channel. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.